Okay, my friend Leaf. I love Leaf. What Star Citizen needs for a 1.0 release? Let's check out what Leaf has to say.
When Star Citizen finally releases, the inevitability is that a whole new wave of players will join. Star Citizen needs to release in a state that captures even some of that new, larger player base and turns them into returning citizens. It's not just the backers that need to be impressed, it's the entire gaming world. I know for some, an immediate doomsday mentality starts to sink in. What if they sell out and make my beloved just like every other game? Well, I think CIG can make the game enjoyable for a larger player base without sacrificing what makes Star Citizen Star Citizen. But it isn't.
I'm most worried about what Chad McKinney had to say with bed logging, and I would say you're like, according to Chad McKinney, and again, this is what I've read, that Chad McKinney kind of has an idea about bed logging being not so prevalent and possibly a game design that will change. And to that, like bed logging gone, and to that I could be misinterpreting what I read, okay, but like if that were to be the case, I'm giving that a complete boo. Yes, Limitless, I'm gonna boo that. I don't want that, Chad McKinney. We're also gonna shame Bell that. We're gonna shame it. Thank you, Limitless. Limitless
shame
is on it.
Shame.
Limitless is correct.
Shame.
Limitless will get his sound effect button pushed right now, which is filled with amazing. Limitless. Wow. Limitless is right. I am right. And if you disagree with me, seriously question your existence. Because I think without bed logging, you completely ruin exploration. And we've kind of been on this theme tonight on Star Citizen After Dark, where we're talking about exploration being a huge factor in the game. Over 67% of people polled that are citizens are in it for the exploration. Yes, the irony is there's one system. We get it. That's not lost on us. But in that one system, there is a lot of system. And there will be more systems as server meshing comes into the mix. Dynamic server meshing, we will then get pyro, and then we will get more. But yeah, bed logging being gone is a very, very bad idea. And I could have took out of context what Chad McKinney said, but I was kind of reading between the lines, and I was like, that kind of worried me. Like what Leaf is talking about, having the game change certain aspects of the game design discussed from the very beginning. It is kind of scary if you think about like certain features being pulled that you really happen to love, that you think are essential. You start hearing people saying like, oh, maybe we should have bed logging. And you're thinking like, what's going on here?
Going to be complete with every original promise or feature.
Starlet says, don't worry, you'll all be able to log out in your ship. Yeah, I would think that would be one of the dumbest moves ever, Starlet, if they did that, right? Absolutely.
On launch. Those will come down the line. Today.
And Finger says bed logging is going to be replaced entirely just by persistent entity streaming. And yes, I mean, that would be the optimum thing to happen, right, Fingers? Right.
I want to envision what a released Star Citizen looks like, what features make it complete, and what can be added post-launch based on the current state of development. Star Citizen has captured a strong audience for a reason, its potential. But you pair that potential with a long development cycle, and people have had time to imagine what the future of the game will look like. This drives support, excitement, and a sense of community as we discuss the potential world Chris Roberts is making. But with all that time to imagine, that also almost guarantees that some people's fantasies would lead them to an end result that will only spell disappointment. Now, I can only give my perspective. Let me know if yours differs in the comments. To me, Star Citizen is trying to be a universe sandbox with living lore and a dynamic economic backbone. With NPCs having their own lives, the world will always exist, even if players aren't around. We can affect the universe, but it still lives and breathes, even when we're not there. It ain't
the whole narrative about, from the very beginning, about how NPCs are going to have their own lives. No, I don't think it's going to get to that point anytime soon. From what I'm seeing, like that, just throw that one out the window. I mean, like that's way, like that is just way fantastical. And, you know, that's not something that they should put a lot of work into, honestly. I just want AI that functions, NPCs that function correctly. Again, a lot of the things that we're seeing from AI right now, you know, some of the new animations, awesome, but the way that they react, how they jump all over the place, very latency related, very server related issues. Again, dynamic server meshing. You know, these are things that we talk about on the channel all the time that are very important to actually see AI function as coded. We need a stable environment.
Aims for immersion by reducing menus and numbers like traditional MMOs by focusing on deep gameplay loops that require skill. These then lead to emergent gameplay and are the fundamentals that, if met, could garner a 1.0 release title. So the core features that I think are necessary for a release tend to fall in the does it affect the economy at a fundamental level category. So, what will it release as? The first thing that needs to be addressed is the usability of the game. It's no secret Star Citizen is currently filled with jank. The two main areas that need cleaned up are the UI and UX and the new player onboarding experience. Thankfully, a lot of the UI and UX problems are already being addressed, like in patch 323. Things like looting, using the star map, or just simply interacting with stuff sucked before, but this will feel much more polished now. So with that being fixed, we can look towards the onboarding experience. Currently, they have a tutorial, and I used the heavy air quotes because it does the bare minimum, in my opinion, in sharing to the player what Star Citizen has to offer and how to navigate the world. They've talked about...
Thank you, Oz, and welcome, Great War Mage. Great name, by the way, the Great War Mage. That's, hold on a second. That's just a name that... Yes, sir! Don't mess with him. Do not mess with him. He means serious business. He's coming in here. You better respect him. He's going to polymorph you into a sheep, and you just don't know what's going to happen, for God's sake. And Oz, thank you so much. Thank you for that subscription, bro. Look at Oz. Holy God. 40 months like a boss. Yes, sir. Oz. 40 months subscribed, man. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you.
Missions that would be more story-based to bring the player around the world, much like most MMOs out there. I want to tell you what I would specifically like to see. First off, a new player island is always a good idea, much like RuneScape, where you get taught the basics in a focused and safe environment. This could be its own small instance, or just have a noob city on each planet that players can choose to spawn at. Yes, I know that would be a lot of work. Even copy-pasting the city isn't just as simple as copy-pasting. But then have a series of missions that lead them to gameplay loops and professions. Imagine this. Captain Dooley
Attention.
gives you a mission to protect a prospector that is broken down in a mining field. Then you use it to finish mining a few rocks. Then when you're done, they take the prospector back from the player, and then mention that if you liked mining, to buy your own at a ship shop. This simple mission has now accomplished two things. One, introducing the player to multiple mechanics and gameplay loops, mining, scanning, EVA, flight, using the star map, and likely more by the time of release. And number two, it gives the player a chance to create goals to work towards. If they enjoyed mining, now they know they can start doing jobs around the verse system.
This is the thing I've been talking about. I've been beating the table on this for the past 10 streams. It feels like it. It feels like it. Clean this up. Elliot, listen to me. He's does a lot of level design over at Cloud Imperium. Clean it up. 50% of my missions that I accepted these contracts are borked. Okay? Clean this up, pull the ones out, raise rewards up, and let's get serious on this already. A lot of people are playing like this, okay? If a lot of people are involved in contracts, then perhaps it's time we revamp all of this. New missions should happen all the time. I know it's an alpha, but this should be very, very prevalent. Like, the work on this should be never ending. There should be a whole team. As many people right now that are working on ships to pump ships out, okay, which isn't a lot, by the way. John Crew needs a lot more help in the ship design area, in the department. But also, like, Elliot with the leveling, with the leveling design, he's gonna need a lot of help too. Those are the two areas. You know, add more people to ship designs. You know, keep bringing in the revenues, and at the same time, I would say, how much? Here's a question to all my fans out there: how many people are playing, do you think, like from the contract off the Moby? I would say a large portion of people coming in are playing this way. I generally don't. I'm much more of a PvPer, but I would say, right, Limitless, I would imagine most, right? So because, yeah, that's where I, again, it's my opinion, but like, it seems like there's a lot of people that also think the same as I do, where, more people are gravitating towards this, right? Because it's there and it's easy and accept and credits, right? How about putting a lot of work into this, since this is really what most people are doing? How about seriously revamping this, raising the rewards up, since experiences are generally borked, taking all the crap out and keeping the ones that we know work. I mean, you have box missions, you have delivery missions that don't work, for God's sake. The investigation missions are physics nightmares. The mercenary missions, bounty hunting missions, a lot of people are playing it that way. Another thing that I would do is add more mission types. But this is really important, and I think this should be like a high priority to keep asses in seats. Just my opinion.
To save up for their own mining ship. Anytime that you can lead a player into making a personal goal without it being forced on them, you've got some great game design.
Yeah.
Lead, don't force. Speaking of personal investments, the next feature I think they need to have as a must at launch is base building. And I think
that's gonna wait. Yeah, this is gonna be way out there, but this is what really keeps asses in seats. Like when you start owning assets and you can lose them or you can gain them, that's when the asses stay in those seats. That's when it gets serious business mode, and you have land claims and you're building bases. That's really but that's way off. That's final end game stuff right there. When you hit that mode though, boom, that just keeps people seated.
I think they agree, considering now that they've officially started working on it.
Yeah.
Base building will give ownership in the game to a player beyond your ship and personal items.
Out there, though.
It gives you an investment and an immediate step into immersion because your personal property is now at stake. This alone is a gameplay loop that so many games are built on.
I'll tell you one game that did it right, that the only game that I think really did this whole idea right was a game called Dual Universe in terms of property. And it was so well thought out in terms of how they laid a hexagonal map on all planets and moons. It was one of the things that Dual Universe did right. There was a lot of things that Dual Universe did wrong, which Nova Quark really screwed that one up. Oh my God. That is the death of a game that I wish, that when the CEO left, and what Nova Quark's staff did after the CEO left and all the changes that they made, they completely killed it. They killed it. Just like Frontier Development killed Elite Dangerous. Dual Universe was a very fun game at the start. The one thing that Dual Universe had on lock was the property and base building aspects. The crafting, the building, and the economy was tight. And they screwed it up the second they initiated a subscription-based model, which people revolted against. They were like, nah, can't pay the $7 a month subscription fees. There are a couple titles out there that have those monthly subscription fees that work, but they're very few. And I always was against them with the subscription-based model. So that kind of limited the amount of people that came into the game, which was really a bad idea. And then the people that were in the game that were paying the subscription fee, what ended up happening is they didn't have enough money coming in, and they couldn't keep up with the telemetry. They couldn't keep up with what ended up happening is everything was physicalized in that game. It was so amazing. You would dig, you would mine for asteroids, and there was a finite amount of asteroids in the planets and the moons. There's some really cool gameplay on the channel if you guys are interested in looking up old Dual Universe before Nova Quark ruined it. And they had this down right. You bought yourself a beacon, you planted it on the land. It took like a hexagon piece and it was your land. And you saw it physicalized on a three-dimensional globe with a hexagon mesh around it. So very well thought out. So very well designed. and you owned it and you put rights on the land and nobody could F with your stuff. And I think for like high sec areas where you're in lawful based systems, I would love to see that design being implemented into Star Citizen. So I know a lot of the devs from Cloud Imperium watch. I know Donnie, who's a friend of the channel, and also a member of Cloud Imperium. I know he watches these. If you're watching, Donnie, check out my very early dual universe gameplay, because the land, they did it right. They like base building, land ownership, dual universe had that right. Then what ended up happening is because they couldn't afford to keep up the amount of data that they ended up having with the telemetry on physical things that were that were happening in dual universe, and all the mining that was happening, and the telemetry had to keep track of all the data on the people, on the holes and the tunnels in the planets, and they couldn't afford the servers, and so they shut down the mining. And they made these magic mining machines that took finite resources and made those finite resources infinite. And the second that they did that, they absolutely killed the economy. They killed the game and the people that were serious about the economy and knew what ended up happening. And they said, they were like, why are we even doing this? Why are we even playing this game anymore? If there's unending amounts of minerals, if there's unending amount of goods, what the F is the point in playing the game anymore? And that was the final nail in Dual Universe's coffin, and I miss it because it really hooked me. That game hooked me. It hooked me in the base building. It hooked me in the land ownership. So again, I know I'm getting long-winded on this, but it's important because I really think that a lot of people would like the style of Dual Universe's land ownership system. And I think if they implemented an idea or a copy of it in Star Citizen, awesome. Another thing that I think would be a great thing that Cloud Imperium could pull in is system security from EVE Online. Let's Go Easy said, never heard of Dual Universe. Type Dual Universe on the channel. Let's Go when you get a break. Got like a Sunday to yourself, bro. Type in Dual Universe, and I had a series called DG and DU. Check out that series. I think I had like 4 or 5 episodes, and we had a nice little outfit there of like 7 or 8 people. And it was a fun time. And I was usually it was usually like 2 or 3 a.m. and I go online and I'd probably have like some Elijah Craig with me, which is a whiskey, and I was feeling pretty good. And they're pretty fun streams to watch, but you can see it there. If you guys are interested in what I'm talking about, check it out on the channel. Go there. Check out the land ownership for people who are really serious about Star Citizen and really serious about this style of gameplay. I really think you guys should go to the channel, check out that gameplay. It's called DG and DU, and check it out. I think it's episode 3 or 4 where I start to get into base building. You guys can see the voxels were perfect. They were small. They were manipulated. You could manipulate them however you wanted. You could apply skins to them. You had to manufacture goods to make glass and all that. And I know we're not going to get that in Star Citizen in the terms of detail with manufacturing, but in terms of like the land ownership, I really would like Dual Universe to take that. And I would also I would really like Cloud Imperium to take that from Dual Universe. And in terms of system security, how we expand out in systems, I would like them to take the page from EVE Online. So again, I just had to put that out there for everybody.
Minecraft, Enshrouded, Valheim, etc. It allows for freedom of creativity and pride. You get players feeling those things, and you've got long-term citizens. Imagine a player...
He's right. This is the backbone, because like Wookie says, there's a lot of people. What's up, Wookie? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you here, buddy.
You're not gonna hate me.
I love our content creators. We have Expat Brad in here. We got Wookie. You know, we always get the different content creators in here. I love that. I love that about this channel. Everybody can chill out and have a good time. But like Wookie says, he's more of a casual player. He's, that's cool. There's plenty of that. Everybody's got their own style to play. But I will say the people that are really into the details and the nitty gritty and the economy and stuff, those are your backbone. Those are the players that are never going to leave. If they like that gameplay, that's the reason why EVE Online's still alive. Those players that are into that type of gameplay, they're still playing it because they haven't found anything better. Not since SWG, Not since SWG was there a game so filled with great crafting and economic gameplay until EVE Online. And then EVE Online kind of was a go-to for people. And they're still there because there's no parallel in terms of the industrial gameplay yet in an MMO. So I'm hoping the Star Citizen copies a couple things from some of these very long-lived titles that are still successful, you know?
Player scrambling to make its UE protection payment before month's end to make sure pirates don't take advantage of them. Or building and defending a piece of Eden in the woods away from the UEE, knowing that if someone finds your little outpost, it could be ransacked. The constant looming threat adds excitement. Overall, this is a must-have on launch in my opinion. Or people will quickly play through all the other loot. While the other stuff is fun, this is the one that will ground players in the world. Now this brings me to the last of major gameplay loops I do think need to be complete for launch. We don't need Seda Ball. We don't need VIP transport, but we do need crafting. Being able to use up resources that miners bring to shops and manufacturers is evidence of a loop directly affecting economy. Not to mention you can't really have base building without some version of crafting. I'm not entirely sure what crafting will look like, just that it needs to be there for a 1.0.
The crafting in Star Citizen is going to be directly related to things called manufacturing nodes, okay? Those manufacturing nodes will be primarily owned by NPC AI, or what Tony Z referred to as quantum. That is an algorithm, okay? There are 10% of people that will have access to make these manufacturing nodes or to own these manufacturing nodes. Those manufacturing nodes will need materials, and those manufacturing nodes will be pumping out goods that will supply those people that get into a crafting that is not in or designed into the game yet, because neither are the manufacturing nodes. So that's exactly what the plan is according to Chris and Cloud Imperium. This is all very far away, but that doesn't mean Leaf is not correct. Leaf is very much so correct. When the game is actually finished, the PU is out, we first need dynamic server meshing to work and the stability. Without a doubt, that's at the top. The next thing we need is exactly what Leaf is talking about. We need land ownership. We need people who actually have a reason to log in, where there's a real economy, real manufacturing happening, and those people will be the backbone, and then all other things gravitate around the economy, just as it does in the real world.
No release. Of course, to feel big, you need to have a lot of players. This is an MMO after all. To make multiple star systems feel populated, you need the technology to bring a lot of players into the same play space. Enter server.
And also, I would like everybody to know,
you need the technology to bring a lot of players into the same play space.
And you'll notice that in order for server meshing to work, you need a lot of DGs.
Yes, you're not gonna hate me.
You need me, and you need a lot of instances of me in order to work. Thank you very much.
I'm in a fountain.
Pepe said one is too much. What do you mean one is too many? Pepe's not nice to me. You just got back here, Pepe. You're going to be mean to me? Seriously, dude? You just got back from your tour. What? I know. Okay, you're just joking. All right. Pepe, don't do that to me. I'm so happy to see you here. You don't.
Enter server meshing. This tech allows different areas of the game world to be simulated by different servers, allowing for large amounts of activities in one play space, as the servers will be able to dynamically boot up or shut down as needed. The best way to envision this is imagine that you're at the bar with your friend, role-playing and having fun. Then suddenly, a space battle breaks out over the city you're at. The server suddenly has a lot more calculations to make than just your bartender mixing a drink. Bullets, missiles, ship collisions, and more. The server prioritizes the battle above your drink. And now suddenly the bartender feels maybe a little more realistic.
It will prioritize it once dynamic server meshing hits. It'll localize all the new fun object containers hitting in an area. It'll go to it, localize it, and it will stabilize the area. At least that's how it's intended to work.
In that he stops paying attention to you. With dynamic server meshing, a second server could then spool up, and server 1 will say, "Hey, I can't run the simulation of this bar right now. Do you mind taking over that?" And suddenly your bar has its own server. Now this doesn't mean that you're instanced. You could still walk outside, look up, and see the battle happening over your heads.
Which is revolutionary.
Yes, you're not gonna hate me.
And this is the point that I'm trying to get across to people when I get into my tirades, is that nobody truly understands the scope. Nobody truly understands the tech. And I get so many comments from people that like, oh, DG, you think that dynamic server meshing's never been done before. It hasn't been done on a scale like this. They always take me out of context. They love to take me out of context to make me look like a big, dumb, bald oaf. You know, like I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I haven't been researching this. Like I haven't been talking about this for 10 plus years. You know, like, nope, I don't read. I don't know what's going on. I'm just a big, bald dummy. You know, like, I mean, like I guess it's an easy thing because there's a lot of people that judge a book by its cover. And if you're looking at me, all you're thinking is, how can this man just be this sexy and walk around? I know.
Yes, sir! You're not gonna hate me! I'm in a fountain.
I ask myself that all the time. This happened, by the way, at CitizenCon last year. All right. And it's very infancy format. And it was like a wow moment. I've talked with game designers, game engineers. I had them look at it. I had it verified by people who know what they're talking about. It's legit. Jaws were dropping on floors. And yet the narrative out there is that it's not a big deal, that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that it's not going to revolutionize gaming at all, which to me is crazy talk. People don't understand because they're being fed false narratives like it's not important. It is absolutely important. It will, if done successfully, change the entire gaming industry and will be worth a lot of money. Period. Full stop.
Since Server 1 is still telling the replication layer what's happening. Server 2 looks at that layer, gets the info, it just doesn't have to calculate it anymore. I hope that gets across why server meshing is very important for a release. We currently have the replication layer in 3.23 with static server meshing hopefully this year. Dynamic server meshing, the server spooling up and down
Starlet,
and handing information.
I love what Starlet says. Starlet says it's hilarious that in this world of server meshing, everyone in one shard connects to a single server. Yes, work is offloaded to other servers, but everyone in the shard universe still connects to a single server.
Yes, sir! You're not gonna hate me!
Yes, Starlet, yes.
To each other is, in my opinion, necessary for release. And of course, to make sure it feels huge, we're gonna need places to go to. Star Citizen is already a massive game with so many places to explore, like cities, forests, outposts, and how about the entire planet to drive along. But multiple systems will give CIG a chance to create unique gameplay experiences, almost metaverse-like, as you hop from system to system. Imagine a moon base, someplace where a viral outbreak happens, causing some version of zombies that you now have to shut down in some world event. The possibilities are insane, and it will honestly be the closest thing to a metaverse besides something like VR chat that we've ever seen. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, but you're not even close. Having a few star systems on launch to give us and new players a taste of those possibilities is a must. And finally, the backbone to all my needs, Quantum. Tony,
I want to see this motherfucker. Sorry, Tony, but I need to see Tony at this year's CitizenCon. And like I said, I will not shut up about this. I do want to see an economic panel. I remember we do all CitizenCon live here. My family, I say to my family, you will not see me for 2 days. Go away. It's the only 2 days out of the year that I have to myself with you, where we have 48 hours of straight amazing streams, and I've been doing it for years upon years. They're awesome. You guys got to hit it up if you're new here. Please come to the CitizenCon live streams here. They're a blast. I think everybody that is a fan of DG316 has to endure me talking about the industrial side of any game. Like, I know that 50% of you, when I start talking about the economy or anything industrial related, some of you guys, I can hear the snoring. I start talking about it and I can hear like crickets. I know. Listen to me. Listen, I'm a PvPer. I love explosions as well. Okay. I love explosions. I love PvP. But I know when I start ranting about the economy that like half of you guys fall asleep. But I can't impress upon how important it is to have a functioning economy that means something. How many titles do you know of that have gone dead because there's no reason for the industrialists to be there in terms of MMOs? There's a lot. There are a lot of titles that have died because they're all fetch quests. That the economy doesn't mean anything. I mean, Elite Dangerous is the prime example where you just are picking up fake goods from a place and shipping it from point A to point B. Very similar to how the box missions are in Star Citizen right now, which is, again, why I want to see an economic panel and I want to see some progression with the economy, because I know that dynamic server meshing is not going to be at the point where I like it till probably mid to late next year. And that's if I'm like, you know, praying to Christ Roberts and things get the way I want them to. I mean, at best, you know, where we get some type of stability, probably end of next year. And, you know, I'm going to probably be wrong on that too. But I'm just saying, like, since I know that's going to be a ways away, I want some focus on the economy, and I want to see Tony. Well, I don't know where he's at. He just completely ghosted on everybody. And, you know, frankly, I'm kind of worried. I'm wondering if there's like a real life serious issue, like a health problem or something. And, you know, I don't know. I'm kind of worried. Like, I just want to see where Tony's at, where his headspace is at, because this is such a big deal. Like, the economy is such a big deal. Starlet says Dowdy's at the company now. There's a lot of people that think that Tony's not even employed anymore, you know? And Tony was spearheading the development for Quantum, for the economy. And if Tony's gone, boy, that kind of speaks volumes about maybe where the economy's at right now. You know, maybe that's why, like, we haven't heard anything, you know? And I hate to speculate, but, like, where's Tony at? What's going on? Nothing but crickets. Nothing but crickets now, man. What's going on? There needs to be some type of update. So I'm hoping at CitizenCon that we see him. I'm hoping that we get an economic panel. And I'm hoping that we have some type of in-depth gameplay or game loops. We need it. We need it. We absolutely need it.
Z, the guy making the dynamic backbone to Star Citizen's economy, has been in hibernation, but I imagine that's because they've been waiting for server meshing to come online. Quanta will run simulations behind the scenes, with AI affecting the game world based on supply and demand, regardless of whether there's anyone online or not. It also gives CIG tools to play Dungeon Master, much like Mr. Joel from Helldivers. Having a world that exists even when no players are online makes that world feel alive and lived in. Having a world that you can affect when you mine too much tin on a planet, causing a price drop and cargo haulers rush to the area to buy cheap cargo, and then suddenly pirates show up to loot everyone, and now you have space battles and police forces, and oh my! That's exciting. But until Quantum is in, everything will feel arbitrary. Devs currently have to balance things manually to a degree when it comes to pricing, and that just feels artificial and not fun. Because it's artificial and not fun. And I, of course, have to tackle the
He's right. This is one thing that I'm primarily worried about. I've got an additional worry now, which is a big one, which is where's Tony? That's on the priority of things to worry about with the economy. That's huge because Tony was like the boss when it came to the economy. But the thing I always had a fear of in the background was that we wouldn't have a dynamic economy because it's a simulated economy with an algorithm running it. And I'm not a big fan of algorithms. I'm not a big fan of it actually interpreting real demand. And I've had these talks before, and a lot of people will shout me down and say, "Oh, DG, don't worry about it. We're gonna get that demand. I want to see it physically in game before I make any type of opinions about what it is that I feel if there's actual demand." In certain games where player-driven demand is the way that the economy works, a la EVE Online, one of the best, by the way, economies out there in an MMO. A lot of people will disagree with me because they don't understand that trading essentially and the economy is always about exploitation. I mean, like, you know, like some people get upset, like, oh, this guy made a railgun and it only costs 100 ISK to make this in EVE Online, but he sold it for like $1 million. Well, Yeah, because that guy probably made them, and then he took them all the way to nullsec where nobody wants to go, and he set the price at $1 million. And guess what? The people in nullsec got the money, and they want the goods, so they bought that railgun for $1 million, and that guy deserves the $1 million. And that's what people don't understand about economies: supply and demand. Where the demand is super high, you can take an item and you can mark it up. And that's where you make your margins as a manufacturer and a trader, okay? In a player-driven economy, you can do these things. There's no limits. There's no regulation. There's no filter. Some regulation is important, obviously. You need to police it, right? In a certain terms, our own... our own regulations going to shit lately. And anyway, I won't even get talking about the real life scenarios, but
Gank, I mentioned at the beginning of all of this, it goes without saying that polishing bugs will be important. With things like Death of a Spaceman playing such a heavy role in the world, you really cannot have people dying to random vacuums of space in their ship or invisible debris from desync.
I'm out of the ship! Did he fall out?
Oh, we got a rescue!
Now you might say, sir, you're missing some jobs like news reporting, data running, SATA ball, etc. And as I mentioned before, I'm not, because those jobs do not fundamentally change how the game operates, whereas the above features do. Other MMOs like RuneScape often add jobs or skills later on in the life cycle, and there's no reason Star Citizen can't be like that with large patches like a release 2.0. People need to remember, Star Citizen is, even in this state, more advanced than almost any game on the market. Think about how dirt being on your weapons for too long will wear them down and cause jams and malfunctions. Think about how a fire could start in your engine bay because a bullet penetrated your shields, hit a component, and now you need to vent rooms and replace components in your ship on the fly. There are so many deep features I didn't cover, like the aforementioned engineering and power distribution to ships, because this would be a very long video otherwise. I wanted to cover the larger scale things that Star Citizen needs on release. Star Citizen is nowhere close to being matched, and making sure the fundamentals are in place would make me happy, even if some of the jobs or gameplay loops don't make first release. How about you? To quote Chris Roberts, who was quoting Marcus Aurelius, "What we do now echoes in eternity." It's not just us, the backers, that they have to pay attention to. It's the entire gaming industry. Reminder that members have access to...
It's why they're a target right now, because they're doing things that haven't been done in the gaming industry. It's one of the many reasons why they're a target, and they're an easy one. Cloud Imperium and Star Citizen, they're easy targets, but I like the fact that they're trying it. I like the fact that they're dreamers and they're trying, and I will support dreamers that try. Any day of the week. I'd rather be supporting dreamers that are trying than people that are easily throwing poop at them, which is what happens a lot in the content creation world, because all they want to do is monetize you and get a paycheck. So they're going to go for the clickbait headlines and they're going to throw the poo, and it's easy for those people to do it. But the people that are informed, the people that are researching this, the people that have been this for a while, know they're not indoctrinated. Know they're not being fooled. Know the wool's not going over their eyes. They're informed. They know that this is the only game in town that's trying to do this. They know that there's no other developer that's trying to do this. Period. None. Name me one. I'm still asking the question from 2 weeks ago. Name me one developer that's trying to do this. I'll cover them. I'll gladly cover it on the channel. Name me one. There isn't. There isn't any. There is only one. Star Citizen. There's only one. There's only one trying to do this. So I'm going to support it. I'm going to support it until I have something else I can compare it with, like a rational human being, and say, okay, well, they're actually doing better. Maybe I'm going to support, there's nobody. There's literally nobody trying to do this. All right. Thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit the like button. Unless you didn't like it, then you dislike it. Just, it's okay. I can handle it. And push a button. Just push any button. I don't care. Push my button. Woo.